How China views the Israeli-Palestinian war. On the 11th, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin presided over a regular press conference. A reporter asked that China and Palestine-Israel have good relations and also support the two countries' plan. How does China view and evaluate Hamas? Wang Wenbin said that we have introduced China's position on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict multiple times. I would like to take this opportunity to reiterate that the recurrent solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict lies in resuming peace talks, implementing the two-state solution, promoting the early political realization of the Palestinian issue, achieving a comprehensive and appropriate solution, and ensuring the legitimate concerns of all parties are guaranteed. In the land of Palestine and Israel, there have been comedies, farces, and ultimately tragedy. A major war is imminent, and watching the video, a large number of Israeli tanks are being transported to the front line, with explosions continuing in the Gaza Strip. On the third day of the battle, according to Israeli statistics, over 600 people were killed, over 2,000 were injured, and more than 100 people were taken into Gaza. In Gaza, the Israeli military attack has resulted in approximately 400 deaths and over 2,200 injuries. I think this data is quite conservative. Because this has not been counted yet, the casualties of Hamas invading Israeli villages and towns are definitely not small, and it should be noted that Israel's retaliation in the future will be even more bloody. For Israel, we are currently fighting on three sides. On the first side, on the front, Israel's biggest enemy is undoubtedly Hamas. The attack on October 7th was Israel's Pearl Harbor moment. It's very simple. Israel's intelligence is completely unknown about Hamas's attack, and the Israeli army's response is slow. Hamas fighters have launched large-scale attacks on Israeli towns, which is even more unprecedented. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that this was the most serious attack on Israel since the Yom Kippur War of 1973. The spokesperson for the Israeli military stated that this was the most destructive attack suffered by Israel in its 75 years of founding. Hamas demonstrated combat effectiveness, while Israel officially declared war on Hamas. According to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, any place where Hamas is hiding will be blown up to rubble. But airstrikes cannot achieve the goal of completely eliminating Hamas. Considering that Hamas still has a large number of Israeli hostages in its hands, the Israeli military will be more cautious. Next is the large-scale ground invasion of Gaza by the Israeli army, with Israeli tanks involved in street battles in Gaza, which means a significant escalation of the conflict. Will Hamas sit idly by? Definitely not. They will use the familiar terrain of Gaza to launch a counterattack against the Israeli army. Hamas rockets will still pour into Israeli cities. This means even more tragic casualties. Netanyahu also admitted that Israel is starting a long and difficult war. On the second side, behind it, Israel's biggest hidden concern is the Palestinians around them. Israel is a Jewish state, but its citizens are not only Jewish. There are approximately 2 million Palestinians with Israeli nationality, accounting for about a quarter of the total population of Israel. Although they are second-class citizens, they are Israeli citizens after all, but in terms of national sentiment, they are more inclined towards Palestinians and also hate Israel's arrogance and occupation. After the conflict in the Gaza Strip, a large number of Israeli Palestinians took to the streets to express their solidarity with Hamas and engaged in fierce clashes with Israeli military and police. This is within Israel, as well as the West Bank, with over 3 million Palestinians. The West Bank of the Jordan River does not belong to Hamas, but belongs to Palestinian Fatah. However, it is also under Israeli control, and multiple radical armed groups such as Jihad are active here. The Israeli army often carries out clearance and sweeping operations on the West Bank. The conflict here has become even more intense, with multiple Palestinians killed. A single spark can start a prairie fire, and once the anger is ignited, its explosive and impact will not only shake the entire Israel, but also have a significant impact on the Middle East situation. On the third side, to the north, Israel's most vigilant enemy comes from outside its borders. According to the three goals set by Netanyahu. 1. The clearance of Hamas militants infiltrating Israeli towns has been basically completed, with the vast majority of Hamas being killed and captured. 2. Strong retaliation against Hamas is underway. 3. Beware of third-party involvement in the war. So, we see that Israel has conscripted reserves on a large scale, with some going to Gaza to fight, and some going north to the Israeli-Lebanese border. Because there is also an old Israeli rival who has a headache, Hezbollah. Hezbollah warmly cheered Hamas' attack and announced, "Our guns and rockets are with you." As a response, Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets into Israeli military positions, and the Israeli army immediately retaliated. The situation in the Middle East is all intertwined. If Israel's operations are unfavorable or show the enemy weakness, it can be certain that Hezbollah and other armed forces will not hesitate to join the battle group, and Israel will fight on both the north and south sides, and the scale of the war will continue to expand. We have already seen signs that besides Hezbollah's rockets, 2 Israeli tourists in Egypt were actually shot and killed by Egyptian police on the spot. Israel is urgently withdrawing all tourists in Egypt. And Iran cheers on the achievements of Hamas. Iranian leaders have previously threatened to erase Israel from the map. And Israel is also the Middle East country with the strongest anti-Iran sentiment. For Israel, the current outcome is tragic, with not only a large number of Israelis being killed and captured, but also 2 colonel brigadiers, Colonel Jonathan Steinberg, the commander of the Nahal Brigade, and Colonel Roy Levi, the commander of the Multidimensional Forces. The killing of such high-level officers is also rare in the history of Israel's war. Just like the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago, this sudden outbreak of war will surely be constantly reflected on and become a shameful memory for Israel. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs called on all parties involved to maintain calm and restraint, immediately cease fire, protect civilians, and prevent further deterioration of the situation. The spokesperson stated that the recurring conflict between Palestine and Israel fully demonstrates that the long-term stagnation of the peace process is unsustainable. The fundamental way to quell the Palestinian-Israeli conflict lies in implementing the two-state plan and establishing an independent Palestinian state. The international community should enhance its sense of urgency, increase investment in the Palestinian issue, and promote the early resumption of peace talks between Palestine and Israel in order to seek a lasting peace path. Of course, the most urgent thing at present is to immediately cease fire and protect civilians.